What's going on, guys? Alec here from Oz Fury Gaming. Today I'm here to talk about the ATV and the information that's given to us. So I thought I'd start us off with the white box of the Hurricane. At the moment, this is the newest ship to enter the ship pipeline in regards to its white box phase. Last month, we sort of saw the Terrapin moving through its different phases. With the Hurricane, they talked about how they've basically finished the hull and how it all looks. Now they're moving into the damage states, and they've done a lot of temp work for where they expect the HUDs and everything like to sit for the ship. On from here, they were showing too all the different animation work and the temp animation work for the landing gear and the seats. As we can see, the seats will come down similar to what is like a Gladiator. Now, I'm pretty happy to see the ship coming along because it was actually only released like not that long ago, so it'll make for some interesting gameplay once it enters the live servers. From here too, they were showing off some nice work with what appears to be a Nox entering a Cutlass in mid-space. They talked about persistence and how basically if you put a Nox inside the ship and then you go and land it, the Nox will still be there. It's not like it's going to disappear or anything like that. So that was always handy to be confirmed, because that would be a pain in the rectum. After this, the Cutlass was yet again used as a test dummy with cargo. What they're showing here is how explosions, loading of cargo, and all different sort of mannerisms come together. So basically, if you find a Cutlass or any other cargo hauling vessel and you destroy it, how will the cargo come out of the ship, how's it going to look, and all that sort of business, and how will you place it down single box at a time. They've stated too that once you enter the cargo into the cargo slots available, you'll be able to go into a trading console like this and buy and sell cargo without actually having to physically move it. As we can see here, they get a certain amount of units and they can actually trade from the console. Really handy sort of gear, I reckon. Moving on from this, they were showing the Nox on the planet side, seeing as it just takes off and then hits a bit of afterburner. Really sort of a nice nippy ship, and has those size 1 guns underneath too. For those who are hoping to do bike racing, I think this vessel will actually really tee up quite nicely. Next up was the glass animation for Miles Eckhart, showing here how the liquid will actually work with gravity and physics. Now this might seem like a small thing, but it will be used later in the process as they stated, and I could see it being used for lakes and other bodies of water to try and get that realistic feel, or even in a spaceship as you're flying around with gravity. From here too, they were showing off spaceship landing legs, basically the way the legs come down and the grey box animation work. Then here too, they were showing off how it works with the ship and gravity and how the suspension helps hold it together. Note the rear left-hand leg lifts up and then it all comes back down to level on those uneven surfaces. As we can see, the Aurora drop down, the front suspension really quite bouncy there, as there's only one leg to take all that front weight. Moving on from this too, they're showing off some other animation work in regards to the characters, basically allowing for, because the lumberyard's been updated and had different things to it, it's allowed the tech devs to actually go in there and do some more tools to help development get along, not just for animation but all other parts of development. They're also too showing the star map again. Note too all the lights and the actually person walks in front right now. Makes me think that this is actually being used in game and tested. From here too, they were showing off uniforms. Here we have a officer's uniform in the grey box state at a high poly state. Here too we have what looks like a crew deck high poly state model as well, sort of in a semi grey box stage. Here we have a pirate's flight suit, so be looking out for these guys because they're probably wanting to murder you. And then also too, they were showing off medical officers uniform, so the guys who'll be looking after us if we're getting killed and, well, not killed but wounded. Here now they have some finished characters for Leslie landing areas, so we'll have some NPCs to populate the space. Also too, they've been working on tattoo concepts, so getting full sleeves and all different ideas for that character customization, and also they've been working on a concept for a ship jacker. Now they didn't say much about him, but basically if he comes into the game, he's going to be quite a fiery character to deal with, and he definitely looks that way. Also too, they're working on body damage, what bullet wounds will look like, and blaster wounds to characters, so that was nice to see along that mark. Next up was the mobiglas. Here they're showing us some high res shots of it, getting some really nice decals and details going into it. Talking about also too in this ATV about all the different difficulties that come along with it, because obviously you don't just have a naked wrist, you have flight suits and all other manner of things that we'll be equipping to our character. So this item, which is going to be seen at all times and need to have a high quality and high fidelity, needs to be quite durable too as it goes throughout the game with different models, and it looks so beautiful. I'm just really excited to see it in game. Now moving on to derelict ships, that was the main purpose of this video, really talking about where they've been going with it. They've been teasing quite a lot these last few weeks, and now we get that real insight to what it's about. So they talked about the ship pipeline, and basically when they build a ship now, they go through all the different states until they hit damage state, which is basically flight ready. But then from there they do derelict state. So they've got a huge backlog to do, but basically every shipping game will have a damaged state, or derelict state, I apologise, in some extent. They also talk to you about what it takes to get these ships into a derelict state, how they pull the entire ship apart and get all the different components and modules and really play with them and get them to suit the different environments. Now, obviously with the 3 moons, there's 3 completely different environments, sand, ice, and well, basically rocky, and that allows them to really negotiate the basic sort of terrains that they'll be coming up against as they go through later development stages. Here we can see the Caterpillar nicely lying there. But also too, they've been working on derelict ships in space, as we can see with this Caterpillar, all completely blown apart, which I think is really beautiful. At the moment in 2.6.3, there are derelict starfarers that we can go check out, but there's no real cargo, so it'd be really nice to find different sorts of things in these ships. Here we have a freelancer that's been shredded with still dead people, so this has actually been quite recent, which I think is quite nice to see too, with that turret blown off and in half sort of business. Now they're showing off here, guys, how the planetary tech works, and this has been shot over the last couple of weeks too. But what they wanted to talk about was how they go through the moons and they actually pick places where they put these derelict ships. So they're not just quite as random like outposts. They talked about how characters will be able to go in and really explore the derelict ship, because about 80% of them will be, barren, but 20% are going to be basically what they call inhabited. So they want to make it really unique. So they did like what they do with movies, for example, where they have people who go and pick spots for scenes and certain shots, and especially in critical scenes. Well, they've done the same thing here. They've basically used like what they call their, warp moving, so they can move around the planet super fast, picking where they want to place these derelict places. So that will create a really, really fun, video capture and time with your friends. It's not going to just be boring, oh, here we go, we got another ship. There'll be unique parts of each find. Now, speaking about inhabited ships, check out this freelancer. Note they've got windmills, they've got cloth, there has some barbed wire at the front here. So they've got a fair bit going on, and it sort of states that these guys have been here for probably about a week or so. Note too, when it goes to night time, the lights start coming on and all the sorts of manner of things coming around, especially with those fire barrels there to keep you warm during that cold, frosty night. Moving on to the next part here, we see a freelancer on a planet. As we can tell, there's shrubbery around it and different sort of environment to what we've seen on the moons. So obviously they've been playing with planets and more newer tech, seeing what derelict ships will look like there. So guys, we see a starfarer here being spawned in on the planet, and the reason why I show this is the next shot is actually the starfarer, not just as a derelict ship, but as an inhabited ship. Look at this, they've got a fence around it, they've got cloth, they've got barbed wire on the fencing, they've got a ramp there going to the head of the starfarer where the cockpit is. So this has been here for quite a while too. We can see a person up on top of the ship, so I imagine there's a ladder or ramp work somewhere. And also too, they've got those windmills again, so they're showing off some more closer images of the windmills, which I imagine is what would be bringing water supply up from the ground. If not that, at least power. But then they show off these solar panels too, so a lot of interesting tech going on here and different ideas. From here too, they showed off Ice Planet, or Moon, which has a constellation with some more people there randomly. Then also show off a recent wreckage, so I wonder if we'll be able to see one of these in 3.0. Now guys, I'm going to leave you with a little snippet. Hope you enjoy it. It's a bit of hype, and also to stick around for the last bit because they have one of the developers talking about a special part of 3.0. Hope to catch you guys later in the verse. Toodaloo.
Yeah, I guess you could say ships have always held kind of a power over me. I mean, growing up, I couldn't get enough of them. I'd hang out by the pads any chance I got and listen to the pilots swap stories. My dad used to tell me, you weren't born, you landed. But yeah, there was always something about them.
These aren't graveyards to me. No, they're a testament of life. Think about all the lives that touched this one ship before it got to this place. It's crazy, right? And there are a few things in this universe that have that kind of power.
To me, it always comes down to the people who flew it. the modifications that they made to make it theirs. I mean, we could find 10 Connie wrecks, and even though the layout's going to be the same, every single one of them is going to be different. There'll be some kind of lingering presence to connect you to the people who lived on it.
When I look at a ship, I see a person. Now, I know when people find these wrecks, all they see are mounds of scrap or a payday or whatever. But to me, maybe it was just growing up on a dusty rock, but a ship was freedom. It was limitless possibility.
I've never done that before.
And by the way, you may come across a site that we've not spoken about. There's only one of them in the verse, and if you find it, you're in for a pretty big surprise. Yes, there is. Hopefully, touch wood. I've been very adamant about it, and I'm 100% confident it will come through. But we have to do derelicts for every ship in the game, right? So it's actually part of the ship pipeline now. So once we've finished creating the ship, so it goes through the stages of concepts, white box, grey box, production, texturing, optimization, damage, derelict. So that's the other leg of all this now. So we have to do that with every ship in the game. So we've got quite a big backlog to do. We've done 4 already. But one of those 4 is massive, and you might come across one in the verse. There's only one in all the verse at the moment. But it's there hopefully to be discovered. And yeah, you can get a good sense of scale of how big these things are when they're on the ground. Good luck trying to find it. Cool. And you can see that from outer space, that site. When you're going across the planet, you can see just this like 3-4 pixel thing on the terrain going past. It's that big. It's huge.